so if you got elected, you would increase the Republican representation by 11% in the state of Florida, all by yourself.
It's more than Massachusetts.
Yeah. So I think, you know, the advice is, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to work in politics? Do you want to be an activist? You know, I was in aerospace for 13 years where I was pulling down a very good salary. You know, my spouse reminds me maybe more than I make now. And I remained very active in politics, both in appointive office, in the Republican Party Central Committee in Orange County, you know, writing modest checks, walking precincts, helping people get elected. That's certainly something that you can do if you have a profession that you're comfortable doing, that you're not going to be, you know, grading or chomping at the bit because you're not actually working in elected politics. If you want to get involved in elected politics right away in a state like that, you know, unless you have some way of supporting yourself, you know, I don't know as if that's a good path to take right off the bat, because you got to have an infrastructure that you can work in, either as an appointee, paid staff, or on someone's legislative staff, or, you know, the party organization. I'm not sure how much apparatus is out there. I think Hawaii only has 2 congresspersons now, right? Yes. So that means that the entire population of Hawaii is no more than roughly triple my assembly district. You know, so there's just not a lot of mass out there. What I would say, though, is that if you are able to work in the private sector and continue to be active, that there's an old saying that we had in the aerospace industry that I think is very true, that people tend to overestimate what they can do in the short term and underestimate what they can do in the long term. And so I think that as people getting active in a party as a volunteer, it's been my experience that if you stay active for more than 1 2-year election cycle, that will put you in the top 70% of the people who are active in the political process. More than 1 2-year cycle to stay with it. Because most people get active for a specific person or cause, and then they get in, they take care of business, they win or lose, and then they go back to their you know, regular life, and they don't get engaged anymore. And so if you just stay active for more than a 2-year cycle, you'll probably come to people's attention. At least that's been my experience. Sir.
My estimate is that people in this room could probably deliver as volunteers about 20,000 plus votes from the moderate community in California. But my guess is that they need to know your message to reach that moderate community that you specified in Huntington Beach, where you nailed it, because that's the key to winning the election. So what's the message for the moderate community? Why would the moderate want to vote for you over Barbara?
Well, politics, of course, has a lot to do with timing. And the sad fact is, in the state of California, we now have an unemployment rate that's the highest it has been since 1941. The real unemployment rate is even higher, because when people stop looking for work, they're no longer counted as unemployed. They're just out of the workforce. They're now on welfare or some other statistic. We just passed the largest state tax increase in American history, and we're going to pass more tax increases very soon, because the budget deal that was consummated a couple of months ago was instantaneously out of balance the day it was passed, which is one of the reasons why I was the only person on the floor of the assembly to argue against it at 6:30 in the morning after we'd been up for 24 hours using the old sleep deprivation trick. That, I think, is going to make the situation in California even more dire, unfortunately. But the new tax increase is going to be a majority vote only unconstitutional illegal tax increase, like the one that the majority party tried to do last December. Now, going into this situation where the economy is not doing well in this state, and people are frustrated, Barbara Boxer is going to have some serious explaining to do. She has never had to run for statewide office when the economy was not good and Democrats were in charge. She just has never had to do it. And as as a result, if you look at her previous campaigns, you see this cookie cutter attack on the 3 previous Republicans that she's defeated. One conservative, one moderate, and one who was conservative but kind of moderate in presentation. I'm speaking of Bruce Urchison, Matt Fong, and Bill Jones in succession. And what you see is Barbara Boxer characterizing these individuals, regardless of whether they're moderate or conservative, as extremists on the environment, on social issues, and she's managed to get away with it because the economy was adequate enough that people were not questioning their own views on things like domestic energy production, oil and gas, modern nuclear power, tax policies that actually encourage prudent risk-taking and entrepreneurship and the development of family-owned businesses. She's never had to explain her policies in those areas because the economy's never been in a position where she was forced to do it. And I think that in 2010, this is going to be a watershed year for Republicans, analogous to 1980 and 1994, when Ronald Reagan took the White House and brought in a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate that lasted for 6 years, and of course in 1994 with the contract with America, where no one, with the possible exception of Newt Gingrich, thought that there was going to be a change in majority at both the House and the Senate. And so what I believe we can do to reach Californians who are concerned about the economy is not only bring them a message of hope about what we can do with the proper tax policies to encourage the growth of businesses, the proper regulatory policies to reduce the yoke of government intervention that prevents people from prudent risk-taking, but also talk about my background. Because how many people running for office in this state, because we live in this nation state of 38 million people, how many people running can lay claim to the fact that they didn't grow up in privilege? You know, that I was literally a dues-paying member of the AFL-CIO working with steel before I got my Army scholarship that let me come here. And when I was here, you know those guys that walk around the campus at night with those humongous flashlights and the windbreakers and the big keys? That was me. Because I was making sure all the doors were locked on all the campuses walking around. And you wouldn't believe the things that I'd see at night. So,
oh, yes, we
I
would.
think that that sort of background will allow me to connect with people better than the individual who perhaps has not had a more modest upbringing. And, you know, I'm trying to think back to when you heard me in Huntington Beach. Was that even remotely the same themes that I mentioned in Huntington Beach?
Basically, you lit up the room, or the pool, I should say, and you hit a real chord. It was a captive audience, and everybody had the philosophy which was in the same ballpark. I walked away thinking, you're not just a candidate for the Senate, you're a candidate for the presidency.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay. No pressure now. Sir.
So moderate asks you, well, you know, Bush was elected and the Republican congressman said that they were elected and look what happened in
Yep.
the economy.
Yep.
Why should we trust you or any other Republicans?
Right.
From
Great question. The Republicans threw away much of their right moral authority to lead because staying in power got to be the most important thing to them, and they forgot why they were Republicans. And whenever Republicans begin to act like Democrat light, we lose, and we lose deservedly. And we're going to have some of that same problem, by the way, because who's the lead figurehead in the state? Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a Republican in name. Sir.
I've heard it suggested that technology only gives Democrats an advantage. That effectively, you know, that there's the net exists, and I don't agree with this. Like, I think technology is very libertarian in nature, and that the central sort of cleavage of our politics is between